Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. I'm Swebb.
And I'm Dad.
And we are the dad and daughter duo talking about all of our favorite sports moments from the week. Dad, how's it going?
It's going okay, Swebb. It's going
Yeah?
pretty good. Yeah, it's going pretty good. Can't complain.
That's good to hear. It's 100 degrees here currently, and we're recording on a Tuesday afternoon, and I'm sweating my butt off.
Why are you sweating, Swebb?
Because it's hot. I can't run the AC while we record, otherwise you'll just hear the AC
It's
during
only
the whole recording.
It's only 96 here.
It is not fun here. I went into the office and the AC wasn't working, so they told everyone to go home. And
The AC wasn't working, and
it wasn't working on every floor of the office.
it's 94 now here. See,
Lucky you.
it starts cooling off.
So if I start sweating, you'll know why.
I thought you were cool as a cucumber, Swebb.
I have my little... I carry towels with me everywhere. I have a trick. You carry a little... I actually have some like little baby washcloths that I carry with me so I can dab the sweat off my face. You know, like you don't want to do it with the paper napkin because you'll end up with paper stuck to your forehead. But if you do it with a little baby towel or baby washcloth, nice and soft, and it stops you from sweating for about 2 minutes.
You know, about 3 weeks ago, I'm at one of your niece's lacrosse games, and 90-something degrees, no shade. I'm sitting out there, and this lady walked by and said, "Aren't you hot?" I said, "Yeah, it's hot." "Well, I don't even see you sweating." I said, "'Cause I'm a cool cat."
I will give you that. You don't really sweat.
Nope.
For a bigger guy, that's very impressive that you don't sweat. Usually people your size, they sweat a lot.
Oh, yeah, okay, easy, Swebb.
I try not to sweat, but today was like, I'm going to walk slowly. I'm taking the bus, which I normally do, but especially today. Taking the bus. I don't care if it's the local. I don't care if it's the express. If the local, it's actually not so bad because I'll sit on the bus for 45 minutes with the AC blasting and I'll enjoy it. So that's what we're dealing with here in New York City.
With all that cement, tall buildings, no cross ventilation, you can keep it.
And it's not like I can even like jump in a pool or anything. Like it is. I've taken some cold showers. Yesterday I went for a run in the morning when it was only 81 degrees.
Ooh.
And I sweat completely through my shirt. I was soaked. I then went to pick up my dry cleaning. And I just, like, by the time I got to my apartment, I just laid on the floor. So here we are.
Yeah.
A heat wave.
Tough life, huh, Swebb?
It really is a tough life. So what's going on? What's new with you?
A lot of action, Swebb.
Has there been a lot of action?
Your aunt and uncle just left. They were here for a few days. They just left. Your mother took them to the airport. Your niece had a lacrosse tournament up in Asheville, North Carolina this weekend. And from some of the video I saw, she did tremendously well.
I saw a video of an assist and some good footwork and speed, some good stick skills. So
Yep.
she's a star. She always has been.
And I went to her practice the day before that tournament, 2 days before that tournament. And she didn't do much. And I said, "Man, when is the light going to go on?" And on Saturday, the light went on.
She turns it on during the tournaments.
The light went on. So this could get good.
Okay, good stuff.
This could get good.
Did you do a lot of partying with your brother and sister-in-law?
No, not really.
What'd you
I'm
guys
not much
do?
of a party guy. Huh?
What'd you guys do?
We watched the NBA final, the Game 7. Went to a few restaurants. I did some grilling here. And and then I had to work during the day, Swebb.
Riveting. It sounded like an amazing weekend for you. So for me, my friend Nicole got married. She had an amazing party. I lit up the dance floor.
Who, you?
Yeah.
You know how you dance?
The DJ was playing all the hits from like the middle school, high school dances, college driving around in your car days. And other than that, I've been trying to stay inside in the AC. I've been having a lot of Italian ices. You remember the cups with the wood spoon from the ice cream truck?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
The Merinos. Yep. I have 2 packs of those in my freezer. And that's pretty much what I've been having to eat. So.
I remember those days.
But despite all of these things, these exciting things that we've been doing, some things still remain the same, Dad.
I know.
And that is that the Knicks still don't have a head coach. So the NBA has now crowned a champion for the 2024-2025 season. The Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Indiana Pacers on Sunday. The NBA draft is this Thursday. And the Knicks don't have a head coach. So, nothing like wait until the last minute, keeping things exciting for everyone, keeping everyone on their toes with all of this. But now, as the season is over, trades are starting to happen. Kevin Durant was traded this weekend. Drew Holiday, the Celtics just traded Drew Holiday to the Portland Trail Blazers. So now you're going to start to see moves happen. And doesn't look good that the Knicks don't have a head coach because who's really...
And free agency starts in about a week.
Right. So who's making those moves? So the Knicks, we mentioned a few times on this podcast, they have the 50th pick. So they wouldn't draft until the second round of the NBA draft, which will be on Friday. But they have some decisions to make here. So they've had 3 coaches interview for the role officially. And that is Mike Brown, Taylor Jenkins, and the newest name is Micah Nori. And that is the one that I am a little bit excited about. Taylor Jenkins, previously with the Memphis Grizzlies, was fired in March. Not necessarily looking to pick up a coach that was fired by his previous employer. Mike Brown, a 2-time Coach of the Year, but also he usually has a good 2 to 3 year runway, and then he's fired from just about every team that he's worked for. So, Micah Nori, the assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves, he is a likable by the players, by fans, organizations. He's been the assistant coach in the past for the Detroit Pistons, Denver Nuggets, Sacramento Kings, and Toronto Raptors. And really been credited with someone who is creative on offense and has been responsible for helping develop the offensive schemes for some of the teams that he's been the assistant coach of. So, there's some interesting things here. You've got a coach who is well-liked. Leon Rose was talking to Mike Breen today, and he was talking about how they want a head coach that's collaborative, but ultimately the offense is going to be collaborative with the front office. But ultimately the head coach is responsible for the offense, the lineups, the decisions that happen on the court. But this is an interesting name. I looked him up. I don't know him well enough. Obviously, he's been the assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves since 2021, I believe. And but he's someone who is familiar with Karl Anthony Towns and could help open up the Knicks offense. But I see you're not too happy by the look on your face.
Swebb, when you fire a coach that got you to the furthest point, I expect a press conference within 2 days. I expect that you already had somebody else lined up that you knew for a fact was going to be better. And they've gone 3 weeks. What is this? You're going on 4 weeks soon with no coach. They tried trying to get coaches that were already under contract, head coaches that were already under contract. They got the door slammed in their face on every one. Now they're down to assistant coaches from other teams. Like, come on, man. They've got pretty much a veteran team. So when you bring a coach in that doesn't have a name doesn't have a big resume, you're taking a big chance. Hey, this guy could wind up being good. I don't know. I never even heard of the guy.
Well,
And I'm
listen,
watching games every night.
it doesn't look good that you fire your coach. I wasn't necessarily
Forget
a fan.
about how it looks. It's not smart.
Well, it's not
I don't
smart.
care how stuff looks.
It doesn't
I care
look
about,
good. It doesn't
remember what
look
I
smart.
told you.
It's not smart. Here's what I will say, and I'm giving the front office, at this point, we're 4 weeks later, there were massive missteps here, right? I wasn't a big fan of firing Coach Tom Thibodeau, but what I will say, and when people were asking me, what's the deal with the head coach? Why did they fire the head coach? And I said, he was very rigid in his scheme. He practically had to be bullied into inserting Mitchell Robinson into the starting lineup in the Eastern Conference Finals when they were finally down 2-0 in the series. He played 7.5 to 8 guys throughout the season, and because of that, when the Knicks needed their bench didn't really have the experience, although some of them did show up and played as effectively as they could in the limited time that they had. You have 82 games throughout the regular season, and you consistently are only playing 8 guys. Guess what? You don't really get the chance to try things out. And now you don't want to start trying things out in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is what happened. So I don't think that Tom Thibodeau was the perfect coach. Am I a fan of his firing? No. Do I understand it? Yes. But you should have had a replacement in mind. And pretty much solidified after making that announcement and after firing a coach who gets to do the Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years. Yes, I agree with all of that. I will say that Leon Rose and the Knicks front office, they should get some commission from all of these coaches who ultimately ended up signing contract extensions because, at the end of the day, there were names that were floated out. Most of the coaches' names that were floated out were current head coaches under contract. Jason Kidd with the Dallas Mavericks, Ime Udoka with the Houston Rockets, Billy Donovan with the Chicago Bulls. Both Udoka and Billy Donovan have now signed contract extensions with their current employer. The news was that the owners weren't going to let these coaches interview for the role. Obviously, if you have a good thing going, you're not going to be like, hey, yeah, you can take my head coach. So now I have to be in your boat and I have to find some other schmuck to fill the role of this guy that I actually like. So, yeah, I don't know who was putting that news out there. I think that might have been an ops by the head coaches that are under contract currently, because guess what? They laughed their way all the way to the bank. And we're sitting here as Knicks fans like, we still don't have a head coach. So, doesn't look good. It's not smart. But I am intrigued by this name, Micah Nuri. I was concerned when the only 2 names that were really going around were Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown. This new name, and people have mentioned Johnny Bryan in the past, who previously was an assistant coach with the Knicks for many years, now an assistant coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, if the front office liked him enough, he would have already been named the head coach. So it doesn't seem like he's going to be put in that role, and he hasn't officially interviewed for the role. But this name, Micah Nuri, could be an interesting candidate for the role, given his ties to Karl Anthony Towns.
A week ago, the last episode, we were talking about maybe trading card Anthony Towns for it. Let me just tell you. You see what Boston did today?
What did they do today? Let people know.
They traded their starting point guard, who's 35 years old. They traded him for a young combo guard from Portland, Simmons, that's 27 years old. And I've seen that guy play. He lit up the Knicks a year or 2 ago at Madison Square Garden. He has a good time with the Knicks every time he plays against them. Okay? He's real good. So they traded that, and
and draft
Holiday is signed for another 2 years or 3 years. And they got rid of all that money, and they brought in a young guy that has 1 year left on his contract, and if he fits in good, I'm sure they will extend him. Okay, so now Tatum, who's going to be out for the whole year with his torn Achilles, what is he? They've brought in a guy that's going to replace some of that offense, and he's young.
And they also got draft picks in the mix as well.
And they got a few second round draft picks. Okay, the Knicks are going to have to trade one of these starters and make a similar type trade.
Yeah,
that guy Simmons, he's the kind of guy they need playing the 2 guard right next to Brunson.
Well, the real question is, who is available, and what are you going to get for some of these guys?
Well, I don't know everybody's contract, but who would have known Simmons when that trade comes? Your uncle came and told me today.
Let's talk about who is currently under contract for next season. Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges. So
I mean who's under contract for other teams around the league.
No, but let's talk about the Knicks roster. They'll also have Deuce McBride under contract, Tyler Kolek, Mitchell Robinson, and Ariel Hukporti and PJ Tucker are under club options, and Pacome Dadier. So the Knicks will have guys like DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet, who are free agents, and Precious Achiuwa, who had previously gotten some minutes when Mitchell Robinson was hurt, who they will have to replace. And obviously we want them to be replaced with guys who are more effective offensively. We had talked a while back about, and I haven't heard anything in the past week, but about a week and a half ago, the news going around was that Jaren Jackson Jr., who was under his last year of his contract with Memphis going into this season, averages 22 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, center for the Memphis Grizzlies, could be available to trade. He makes about $23.4 million per year. So if you take someone now, if I'm Memphis, I don't really want to trade my, starting center for a bag of beans here. So the goal for Memphis is likely that they're going to try and re-sign him and extend him to a longer deal. But if you take someone like Mikal Bridges, who makes about $24 million a year, and maybe throw in a Pacome Dadier or someone like that, they have no draft picks to give away. You could end up making a compelling offer for someone like Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, that's me being an optimist here. Clearly, we're on two ends of the spectrum here in terms of optimism and pessimism. I'm here with, when life gives you lemons, I'm trying to make lemonade over here, and you're squeezing the lemon, and the lemon juice is getting into like open wounds and stuff.
Okay. Well, just remember this. The last time the Knicks won a championship was 1973. I was in high school. You're new to all this stuff. You haven't had to go through all this stuff that I've had to go through for all this time.
Of course. I'm trying to be optimistic because this is the best front office we've had since I've been alive. So
now that's true.
So, I want to give them a little bit of leeway. I don't want to completely doubt them. The past month hasn't been their most shining moment, but they have been better than any front office I've seen in my time on this earth. And you're talking about they were able to get Karl Anthony Towns last year. They were able to get Mikal Bridges last year. They've got Jalen Brunson on a great contract. They have Deuce McBride on a great contract. They've got some pieces here. They've turned the OG Anunoby trade when they traded away Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett. This is a team that's ready to compete. And the East is wide open because everyone has an Achilles injury. So you've got Tyrese Halliburton, who tore his Achilles on Sunday in Game 7 for Indiana. You've got Jason Tatum, who tore his Achilles in the series against the Knicks. Damian Lillard tore his Achilles late in the playoffs for Milwaukee. So you've got the East is wide open, and now is the time to really strike. But
and that
doesn't feel good not having a coach, leader at the helm.
That, my friend, you can do all the good things. You ever play chess?
Yes.
Okay. You can make all the good moves, and then you make a bad move with your queen, and your opponent sweeps in with their knight and says, "Oh, thank you," and the game's over. Okay?
And we saw that last year for the Knicks, because every single person, there was a sniper in the arena knocking down guys, and the whole entire roster was hurt by the last game of the season.
But when you make bad moves yourself, like fire your coach, like mess up with your roster, I'm just saying, Swebb.
Listen, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not thrilled with what's happening, but I'm hopeful, because that's all we can do.
The draft is in 2 days, and we don't have a coach.
Keeping things exciting.
We're
Living on the edge.
We're only team in the league that doesn't have a coach 2 days before the draft. That's all I'm going to say.
Living wild and free out here.
Yeah, okay. I don't live like that.
Let your hair down. Go crazy, Knicks.
No. I keep everything buttoned up and precise.
It's like a fun movie, you know?
Yeah,
it's nice and suspenseful. It's like, what's going to happen next?
Okay, I don't operate that way.
Who's the next character that the director is inserting into the screenplay?
Yeah. Okay. Swebb, I've had enough of this. What else you want to talk about, Swebb?
Well, I've got some more bad news to deliver to you.
What?
The Yankees. The Yankees are 3-7 in the last 10 games. And when we talk about a team that has some flaws and a front office and a coaching staff, it's crazy how much the Knicks and the Yankees actually mirror each other.
Whoa.
Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
Okay. The Yankees, Giancarlo Stanton came back last week, so you now have former MVP candidate, the hero of the playoffs last year for the Yankees, back in the lineup. Great. What I'm seeing out of the Yankees in this past 2 weeks really is that they can't hit. And now it's a 162-game season. There are ebbs and flows in the season. But I'm going to call out the fact that the lineups are very inconsistent. And I'm not talking about inconsistent production, because yes, that is true. But any given day, you don't know who's going to be in the lineup for the Yankees. So the actual lineup 1 through 9 has been inconsistent. And if there's any sport where consistency is key, where getting your at-bats, having a regular routine is key, it's baseball. That's why you have a game every day. So now with Giancarlo Stanton back in the lineup, if we just talk through their lineup, you obviously have Aaron Judge in the outfield, but you've got 4 outfielders for 3 positions, because you've got Jason Dominguez, you've got Cody Bellinger, and you've got Trent Grisham. So Aaron Boone has consistently been shuffling those guys. When you have Giancarlo Stanton that only is the DH in the lineup, you can't now move one of those players into that DH role, because Stanton is taking over that role.
But he doesn't play every game.
He doesn't play every game. But now we talk about the infield. You've got Jazz Chisholm at third. You've got Anthony Volpe at short. You've got DJ LeMahieu and a mixture of guys in there at second. And you've got Paul Goldschmidt at first. Catcher, you have Austin Wells and you have J.C. Escara. You now have Ben Rice, who's also been very effective offensively, who doesn't have a spot. So what's been happening is you've got Aaron Boone mixing and matching and moving Goldschmidt in and out for Rice and vice versa, and trying to figure out, you're switching back and forth the catchers, you're switching back and forth the
and
first
Rice
base.
caught one game.
And he was a catcher in the minors. And then now you're switching these four outfield positions. There's too much switching back and forth. There's no reason, when a team has been ice cold at the plate, as the Yankees have, to have Paul Goldschmidt sitting on the bench as your second best hitter because of these different matchups to try and get everyone in. I get it from a catching position. Your catcher doesn't play every game. Sometimes there are certain pitchers who prefer to throw to certain catchers. But I'm wondering here if, and I don't know what you can really get for him, do you trade someone like Austin Wells and you have Escara and Ben Rice catch? on a consistent basis. Instead of having Ben Rice play DH first base and catch one game, you like his bat. You need his bat. Austin Wells isn't really giving you anything behind the plate. When he is batting, he's a great defensive catcher. But you have to get rid of one of those guys.
Doesn't he have like 13 homers or something?
It's 13 homers, but he also strikes out a lot and goes hitless a lot. Like,
yeah, but
this homer,
he's
the homers
still
don't
young.
matter.
Yeah, but he's still young.
The homers
Swebb.
Don't matter to me. Because
this is only his second year in the major leagues.
But what I'm saying is these solo shots, these all or nothings, and maybe it's not Austin Wells. Maybe it's Ben Rice, and you get a legit.
Oh, he's even younger.
And but here's the thing: you need a second baseman, because DJ LeMahieu is the Walking Dead, and these guys are not getting any experience sitting on the bench. And they're getting some experience being inserted into the lineup, but because it's inconsistent, it's like a utility man or a guy who doesn't play that often. It's like, no, they're not going to bat for a high percentage because they play once or twice a week.
Okay,
so,
well, how many of these games have you watched?
I've watched a lot of them in the last 2 months. And
okay,
I'm also saying the same thing with now that Giancarlo Stanton is back in the lineup, the same thing is happening with this outfield. There's too many lineups. If game 1 of the ALDS was tomorrow, who would be your starting lineup?
They would. Okay, first of all, trade deadline is in a month. They will be making, I would say, I just go by previous history and knowing the way they work. Cashman and the organization works. They'll probably make 2 trades. They'll pick up another reliever or 2. They'll probably pick up another starting pitcher. And if they can get a legitimate bat for either second or third, they'll do that without mortgaging it. And 1 or 2 of these guys you're talking about will be gone in the trade. Plus, there's always injury possibility.
Sure, you need depth, but some of these guys are they're not getting a fair shot at it because of the fact that the lineups constantly change, and you got guys who and then you bring them in for 1 at bat and they pinch hit at the end of a game. Like, that's a tough situation for anyone.
The problem they've had over the last few, outside of those 3 games where they got shut out, where nobody hit, that can happen. They're not hitting with men in scoring position early in the game with the starting pitchers. Okay, these starting pitchers are the guys you got to beat up on the starting pitcher, and because when they start bringing in relievers throwing 100 every inning, it's harder to score.
I get that, and what I'm telling you is that the offense has. This is a serious question to ask. Has the offense been ineffective because there are too many switches in the lineup on a day-to-day basis? If this is the game 1 of the playoffs, who is the starting 9?
Depends on who the opposing pitcher is.
Listen, in 1996, 98, 99, it depends on who the starting pitcher is.
They had a Hall of Fame team. Everybody was a Hall of Famer. Okay, or close to being a Hall of Famer.
But you knew who was coming in and you knew who was starting. And more importantly, those players knew who was going to be playing. Right?
You know why?
Imagine coming to the ballpark every day and you're like, I don't know. I might be playing. I might not. I might come in the 8th.
Just so you know, they tell them the night before.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
But when you have Jeter and Posada and Bernie Williams and all these guys,
this isn't a bag of scrubs. They're in the first in the AL East. They went to the World Series last year. What I'm telling you is, can you get more out of your players by having a more consistent lineup every day? We watch enough baseball. The best teams are the ones where their lineup is their lineup, and you have a few guys in and out from time to time to give guys rest. But you don't have a Russian roulette of who's going to be the starting 9.
Do you know other teams would be happy to have the problems they have?
Sure.
They have a hard enough time coming up with a solid 9
But
guys.
here's why I'm talking about how the Knicks and the Yankees actually mirror each other. Because you've got all of these analytics and this matchup and that matchup and this and that. You're on the cusp of a title here, okay? we're talking about margins here. They went to the World Series last year. Sure, if I'm the Tampa Bay Rays and I'm a fan of them, and they don't even have a stadium, sure, I'd be happy with whatever they're sending out onto the field. But we're talking about, do you want to win a World Series, or do you just want to be happy to be here? You just want to be happy to get to the playoffs, or do you want to win the whole thing? So we're talking about margins. We're talking about a few differences and a few changes to make the team better and more consistent. And I'm saying that it's worth asking the question, could the team be more consistent if the lineup was more consistent and it wasn't this matchup thing every single game? You should know who your starting 9 is in the playoffs. It shouldn't be like, well, this guy throws this way and this guy throws this, so we're going to have this one. And then no, the best 9 players play, and you try and get the other guys in where you can. But doing this whole puzzle, this like Lego version of the New York Yankees, is not going to get you to your 28th World Series ring.
They got to get a little more consistent with men in scoring position, okay?
And how do you get consistent? You get consistent by having at-bats and continuing to be out there. No guy is going to be consistent when one day he's playing all game, then the next day he's pinch hitting in the 8th, and then the next 2 days he's playing all game, and then he's not playing for a day because he's got his scheduled rest, and then he's coming in for this game. It's just not how it works. And in this day and age with the pitching, every 5th game is a bullpen game for most of these teams. So it's a crapshoot as to who has the best averages against a mixture of 5 to 6 guys anyway.
You got
Just
some
think
good
about
points,
it.
but you can't have some of these guys. Some of these guys are too good to have them camped out on the bench every night.
Sure, but
remember Grissom last year? Grissom was on the bench the whole year. Was he at 15 homers already?
It's not just about homers. It's about the fact that these guys can't hit with runners in scoring
His
position.
OPS is about 800, which is real good.
I'm just saying, a solo home run doesn't do me any good. Right? Like, we need guys on base. And let's not even talk about the base running, because I will throw this microphone into the TV the next time someone gets thrown out trying to score at home plate.
That wasn't
either
a problem.
Fire the third base coach. This is now 2 seasons of this nonsense. Okay? 2 straight seasons of this nonsense. We either fire the head coach or we start running base running drills during BP. Like, it's out of control. All right? So when we talk about this is the difference between a championship winning team and a team that is on the cusp and just happy to be there. We're New Yorkers. We're Yankee fans. This organization has 27 World Series rings. We're not just happy to be here. We're not here for participation ribbon. We're here to win the whole dang thing. And you can't do that getting thrown out at home every 3rd game.
Hey, listen, I'm the one that's sitting there watching the games every night, watching this stuff.
So when we talk about front office and coaching, there's some similarities, not just with the lineups themselves, but some similarities here of, some of the lineups, some guys not producing in positions and key moments in the games. Managing and coaching, not always ideal because there's too many boneheaded mistakes being made, and the lineups also on the Yankees side, they have too many lineups. When it was Knicks and Tom Thibodeau, they only had 1 lineup.
Because they didn't have any depth. Yankees
front
have so
office, should they have signed Gleyber Torres back? Because you got, they're just things. They're just things that are worth asking the question.
You know why Torres is playing good this year? Because he's on a 1-year contract, and he wants a multiple-year contract. Same thing your brother says all the time. When these guys are playing for a contract, and then he'll relax again. We saw enough of him.
Well,
okay, and he's going to probably be the all-star second baseman for the team.
Yeah, and I've seen enough of DJ LeMahieu.
What's the matter with him? He's playing pretty good for a guy that's 37 years old. He's playing good defense, and he's getting timely hits.
He's the type of utility play. That's the guy who comes in on a rare occasion. That's
well,
not
he
the
doesn't
guy
play
that's
every game.
Regular. I'm just saying, let's not make excuses for a mediocre team at best. They're lucky to be in first place right now, and they're only 2.5 games up. So the Yankees have some work to do. Now,
Yeah.
before we sign off so I can turn my AC back on, what are you looking forward to this week?
I'm going to New York, Swebb.
Again?
I'm going to New York to hang out with my people.
You're ridiculous.
What do you mean?
How long are you going to be here?
Long enough to bother you.
I've got plans. You can't just show up on my doorstep.
Oh, that couch behind you, Swebb, looks pretty good.
Oh, that's where I lay on the weekends.
How long? Until Sunday evening.
Okay.
Sunday afternoon.
Great. Happy for you. All right. I'm looking forward to July 4th is coming up, and I'm going to the beach next week. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I thought you don't like too much sun and too much hot weather.
No, I'm fine if I can get into a body of water to cool down. It's not fun when I'm landlocked and I'm sitting, in a concrete jungle.
Watch out for sharks, Swebb.
I'm not going that far in.
There was
a great white
shark in Hilton Head. 2 of them in the last week.
There was also one in Montauk recently. So
it's not worth it. That's why I stay in pools, Swebb.
You don't even stay in pools. You just sit there in the shade.
There you go. Because I'm a cool cat, Swebb. I'm too cool to jump into water.
I'll be going in the water.
I barely take a shower.
Lucky mom. Okay. So before we sign off, do you want to leave everyone with a dad tip of the week?
Yeah, the Knicks better get a coach. And you know what, folks? When it's not broken, don't fix it. Don't try to get too smart, because when you get too smart, things are going along okay, maybe not quite as the way you want them, and then you try to outsmart yourself, you wind up in a mess, okay? And that's what they have. The draft is in 2 days, and they don't have a coach. The only team in the league that doesn't have a coach. Meanwhile, everybody else is starting to make moves, starting to do this, starting to do that. It's ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, if I see another NBA player wearing low-top sneakers and getting an Achilles tear, that's about the dopiest thing. Wear high-top sneakers, just like you and your brother used to when you played. Wear high-top sneakers. How many Achilles tears do we have to see? And these guys with these low-top sneakers that are all, they're this color, that color, they're getting this amount of money, that amount of money. Great. Good. You can't tear your Achilles, you're out for a year. Happy with that now? Put on a pair of high-top sneakers, please.
You're not
That's
wrong.
the first thing I told your brother with your niece. She's playing lacrosse, she's wearing high-top shoes. She plays basketball, she wears high tops.
And
it doesn't cut down on her speed. I thought the way she was flying around that lacrosse field the other day, I thought she was Andrew McAdory.
All right. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. Be sure to follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X, and subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and share this episode with a friend. We're going to be in and out this summer. We've got some outdoor living to do. Outdoor living to do. I'm going to be at the beach.
No, you take your equipment down to the beach. Swebb, we got work to do.
We won't be
no
checking
time
in
off.
on a
You young
weekly
people
basis.
always want to be. You young people always want to be taking time off. You don't work hard enough to take time off.
We will see you soon.
Yeah, real soon. Bye. So long.
Thank you for tuning in to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.